हेलो एवरीवन, वेलकम टू माय चैनल। आज हम करेंगे डिलन थॉमस, उनकी पोइट्री के बारे में आज हम पढ़ेंगे। डिलन थॉमस, लाइक टी.एस. Eliot, baffled his first readers, while Herbert Reed, for example, thought that Dylan Thomas wrote the most absolute poetry of our time. Geoffrey Gregson described Thompson's poetry as a meaningless hot sprawl of mud. The poet described himself as a painstaking, industrious, involved, and clever craftsman of words. He said further that he used everything and anything to make his poems work and move in the direction that he wanted them to. जैसे ओल्ड ट्रिक्स यूज़ किए थे, न्यू ट्रिक्स, पन्स एंड ब्लेंड ऑफ वर्ड्स, पैराडॉक्स, एल्यूजन, स्लैंग, rhythm, rhymes, vowel rhymes, and sprung rhythms. Regarding the use of images, he said, अब ये बड़ा अच्छा ये क्वेश्चन आया है कि हमें डिलन थॉमस की पोइट्री के बारे में, इमेजेस के बारे में लिखना है, जो इमेजरी उन्होंने यूज़ की है अपने। तो वो बोलते हैं रिगार्डिंग द यूज़ ऑफ इमेजेस ही सेट अ पोएम बाय माई सेल्फ नीड्स अ host of images because its center is a host of images. I make an image, and though image is not the word, let perhaps an image be made emotionally in me, and then apply to it what intellectual and critical forces I possess. Let it breed another. Let that image contradict the first, make a fourth contradictory image, and let them all within my imposed फॉर्मल लिमिट्स कॉन्फ्लिक्ट। मतलब ये बोल रहे हैं कि इमेज के बाद इमेज बनती चली जाती है उनकी पोइट्री में। वो खुद बोलते हैं कि मैं बनाता हूँ। ड्यूरिंग द 20 years of his poetic life, 1933 to 53, the poet kept maturing and developing. He published the first 3 volumes of verse in 5 years, 18 poems, 25 poems, and then Map of Love. ये 18 poems जो थी 1934 and 25 poems 1936 and the Map of Love in 1939. The poems included in these volumes were more reworked from the original draft, preserved later as the 4 Swansea notebooks. The themes of the poems of this warm tome phase are creation, both natural and poetic creation, and death. The force that through the green fuse derives the flower is included in the first volume, and death shall give no dominion in the second. The poet was hailed as a new star on the literary firmament. Edith Sitwell praised him and explained his success as due to his unique gift for dealing with fundamentals in the lives of most people, with birth and death, with God and the devil, with love and decay. The second volume had urgent cadences. Urgent cadences means rhythm, and bardic होता है lyrical. Incantation means chant, evoking biblical memories. The third volume shows the conscious effort of the poet to be simpler, stronger, more real and concrete. Death preoccupied imagination. With Deaths and Entrances in 1946 में जो पब्लिश हुई थी, after a gap of some 7 years and after the war, the mature Dylan Thomas emerged. Poem in October and Fernhill are included in this volume. In Country Sleep 1952, the last volume of his poems contains hymns in praise of God. The celebration of man, the poet said, is the celebration of the poet बोलते हैं, the celebration of man is the celebration of God. Collected Poems in 1952 has a famous prologue with a highly ingenious metrical scheme. Under Miltwood, a radio play after under Miltwood, a radio play about Logarne and its people was published posthumously in 1954. G.M. Hopkins, T.S. Eliot, W.H. Auden, and Dylon Thomas were all struggling to achieve faith in their poetry. Dylan Thomas wanted to believe forever, that heaven is being, a state of being, and that the only hell is the hell of myself. I want to burn hell with its own flame. The spiritual urge was powerful in him. His intense awareness of the unity of man with the process of nature and the identity of all forms of life is expected in an early poem. The force that through the green fuse. In another a later poem, he sees the poles kissing as they cross. Man and death are his metaphors. The process of time envelops both life and death, but vision and consciousness strive to achieve eternity. तो वो बोलते हैं I advanced for as long as forever is. His ascetic vision of childhood reminded critics of Vaughan, Blake, Wordsworth, Rousseau. The child walking with his mother through the parable of sunlight and the legends on the green shuffles show that the poet worshipped nature and through nature. C.B. Cox called his religious attitude a kind of celebratory pantheism. तो बोलते हैं Dylon Thomas wrote, not for ambition or bread or the strut and state of charms on the ivory stages, not for the proud man apart from the raging moon I write on these spendthrift pages, not for the towering dead with their nightingales and psalms, but for the lovers, their arms round the griefs of the ages, who pay no praise or wages, nor heed my craft or art. Thomas was a lyrical poet of the lofty kind who worked by symbols rather than by metaphors, because symbols can connect art with life better than do metaphors. In a fine poem, especially when the October wind, he described not his wrestle with words, but his seeking a new language which could become part of the creative process. The search or striving of his secondary imagination to be one with the primary was Shelleyan. तो बोलते हैं shut to in the tower of words I mark on the horizon, walking like the trees, the wordy shapes of women, and the rows of the star gestured children in the park. Some let me make you of the voweled beaches, some of the oaken voices from the root of many a thorny shire tell you notes. Some let me make you of the water's speeches. Notice in particular the phrases tower of words, the wordy shapes of women, the vowel beach, the oaken voices, and the water speeches. This is one step ahead of Wordsworth. Thomas' preoccupying idea that language is the house or prison of reality or existence, much more dress of thought, is modern, and links him with post-structuralist discourse and analysts like Foucault, Barthes, and Derrida. The individualization of the poet is far from complete. But he may be regarded as believing that language speaks, not the poet, and struggling to achieve bardic. Bardic means lyrical anonymity and become a voice. थैंक यू सो मच. प्लीज़ सब्सक्राइब माई चैनल. नेक्स्ट वीडियो में हम इनकी पोएम्स को एनालाइज करेंगे.